If you live in the UK and you're outside of London, then you've probably thought about buying a car because public transport can be horrible. Some buses come after 30 minutes and you find yourself running after the bus, running after the train. You spend 4 hours on a journey that should take you an hour or even 30 minutes. I have been there, I'm still in there. But after watching this video, you're going to have second thoughts about getting a car, because I'm going to be breaking down all of the costs associated to owning a car in this country, and I have 13 points to take you through, so stick around until the end. Number 1, purchase cost. This is the cost that most people think about when you want to buy a car. In the UK, you don't need so much to buy a decent car, but you might want to invest more on a good car to be able to pay less tax, and I'm going to talk more on that later. Number 2, the cost of driving tests and lessons. As a new driver in the UK, you need, first off, a provisional license. Secondly, you need to book your theory test. You have to pass the theory test, and then you have to book your practical test or your driving test. And to be able to book your driving test, you have to take driving lessons. So the provisional license costs about £50 to apply for. This is pretty straightforward. As long as you have your £50, you can apply for your provisional license and get that, and you can drive a car, but you have to be able to drive with somebody who has been driving for at least 3 years, and the person should be at the front seat, and you have to have an L plate on your car to be able to drive. So there's a lot of limitations to what you can do with a provisional license. Most people use it for an identification. You have to spend at least £50 to book your theory test. If you fail the test, you have to redo it, and it's at least £50 again to redo the test. And the practical lessons, for 1 hour with an instructor, you have to budget between £20 and £40, but mostly on the £35 marks. If you have to spend 10 hours or more, that's a lot of money. So yeah, that's another cost associated to getting a car in the UK. Number 3, VED, which means vehicle excise duty, or road tax or vehicle tax. This is an annual tax that you pay to the government based on your car's CO2 emissions. So if you drive an electric vehicle, you pay no tax, and if you drive a non-electric vehicle, you have to pay some tax. But in 2025, that rule is going to change, so electric vehicles are going to have to pay tax. For cars registered after 2017, in the first year when you get your car, you pay between £0 and £2,605. So 0 is if your car is electric, and 2,605, which is the higher end, if your car has an incredible amount of emissions. As from year 2, you pay a standard rate of £180 as of 2023. But this would most likely change because it's moved from £165 2022 to 180 in 2023, so there's an upward trend there. If you're looking to buy a premium car of above £40,000, you have to pay £290 extra on top of the 180 standard as from year 2 for up to 5 years. And for more information, please visit rac.co.uk. That's where I got all of this information from. I'll leave a link in the description for this website. Number 4, insurance. So in the UK, you are legally required to have car insurance, and the price of your insurance depends on lots of factors like your age, how long you've been driving, your location, and the level of cover that you get. I pulled this chart up from the Go Compare website. They also have tips on how to pay less. I'll leave the link in the description box. And as you can see from this chart, young drivers below 50 pay a lot more than people above 50. So if you're young, you have to pay more. Number 5, fuel. How much you spend on fuel a month or annually will depend on your car's consumptions, the price of oil or fuel at that time. So this is information that you have to keep updating yourself on if you're planning on getting a car. According to the pence per litre chart I pulled from rac.co.uk website, you can expect to spend 146 pence per litre. So this price, like I said, would fluctuate, and I recommend checking these prices frequently. Number 6, maintenance and repairs. Regular servicing and maintenance of cars can be very costly, especially if your car is on the older end. Another reason why you have to really think about how much you are willing to put up front for a car, because you can end up paying way more for a used car than you would for a new car. Number 7, MOT test, which stands for Ministry of Transport test. Cars older than 3 years have to undergo an annual MOT test to ensure that they are roadworthy and they meet the UK emission requirement. The test can be done at any MOT station with a valid sign, and the prices depend on the type and size of the vehicle. Vehicles with 2 wheels or 4 wheels or vans or trucks. As of 2023, the average price you could expect to spend for an MOT test for an average car is about £55, but you may incur additional expenses for any repairs necessary to pass the test. Number 8, depreciation. Once you buy a car, you can never sell it for as high as you bought it for. Once you drive out of wherever you buy your car from, the car has depreciated, so you have to put that in mind as an additional cost when thinking of buying a car. Number 9, parking. In the UK, you have to pay for parking space unless you're in your garage or you have parking space allocated to you in your home or outside your home. But if you go out, you have to pay for parking space. I did not know that until I came to this country, but anyway, the price of parking depends on what city you live in. On average, you could expect to spend £1 per hour or £10 for a day during the day and £2 per night. And these prices could be 3 times more in more expensive cities like London, Oxford, or could be 50% less in cheaper cities. Number 10, congestion charges. If you drive in certain congestion areas of London, you may have to pay a congestion charges. These charges aim to reduce the number of cars that go into certain areas of London between certain times of the day. This charge applies on weekdays between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. and on weekends between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. The only time where you don't need to pay congestion charges is during bank holiday, Christmas and New Year's Day. A vast majority of cars have to pay this tax except electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, and you can pay this charge online through the FFL website. Number 11, environmental or emissions charges. In some cities, there are zones known as ultra low emission zones, and you have to pay an ultra low emission zone charge if you're driving a car that does not meet the ultra low emission British standards, and you need to pay a £12.50 daily charge to be able to drive in that zone. That's if your car does not meet the ultra low emission standard. This applies to cars, motorcycles, specialist cars and vans. You might also hear of the low emission zone charge, and that applies to vehicles such as coaches and buses. One thing to mention though is the emissions charge is different from the congestion charge. That's something I got confused about. The emissions charge is aimed at maintaining good air quality in a particular zone by limiting the amount of high emission cars that go into that zone, while the congestion charge aims to reduce congestion, and that's mostly applicable in London because it's very populated, so if everybody drives then it might be too much. Number 12, tolls. Depending on where you live, you might encounter toll roads or bridges that require payment. Last but not the least, breakdown cover. So many people opt for breakdown covers from companies such as AA or RAC in case of unexpected breakdowns. This is optional but can be beneficial. You could spend between £60 to £200 a year depending on your level of cover and add-ons. So yeah, those are all of the costs that you could expect with your car. From what I gather from all of this information, the more eco-friendly or environmentally friendly your car is, the less you might actually have to spend on your car. So it might be worth having an upfront investment into a car to be able to reduce costs. Please let me know your thoughts on all of these costs associated to owning a car in the UK. Tell me if you changed your mind about buying a car or you still want to buy a car. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.